Okay, so I think we are ready to get started. Yeah. Okay. So I think I saw the first question was how do you and the rest of the Firelock family feel about the huge success of the Kickstarter? We are obviously really excited. So this is biggest, yeah, there's Steve letting you know he's excited too. We are we are now the most funded historical war game on Kickstarter ever. So that's in and of itself a really big deal. Um, and just the fact that we're able to get so much done with this. If we could get the cavalry unlocked too now, we're getting pretty close. It'll be up to the last, literally the last 48 hours, and just see how it goes. And it looks promising for now, but it's gonna be a close finish. But if we get it all with the cavalry and everything, I'm gonna be super ecstatic. So yeah, we're all really happy. I mean, we're all very tired, but we're very happy to just trying to stretch. As usual, we were unprepared for our success, so we're just trying to cram stuff in as fast as humanly possible, and we've been working lots, but it's going pretty good. All right, so Steve, you have any questions there? Ready to go for me?
Yeah, I do.
He says he does, but I don't know if he does. I think there's a few, but I can't keep up anymore. I don't know where. I don't know. I lost track of where the chat is.
Well, right now our only question is, what's the next stretch goal after the cavalry? And right now we don't have one.
We don't have one. If we somehow have a tremendous last day, we will probably just surprise you guys with something extra. But it would have to be a pretty impressive, record-breaking last day, to be honest. That we pretty much figured the cavalry would be a stretch and hard to get, but these were spaced out with realistic aspirations in mind, knowing full well that it would take a lot of time, energy, and monetary expense to get done. So if we were gonna, so we basically weren't sure we were gonna get as far as we did even. So if we could get, if we just have like, I don't know, like a day, a last day like we had our first day, that maybe we can have the funds to throw something else in there. But as of right now, plan is nothing. All right, what else we got, Steve?
Someone is asking about where do you get that hat? Talk to him about that hat.
Oh, this hat. This hat was sorry. This hat was generously donated by the illustrious Gordon Typer. He put that together and sent it over to me. It's a very awesome hat. I'll be wearing it often. I think there's only one other one like it in the world, so there you go.
Do you got any plans for an Oak and Iron crossover for Raise the Black?
Oak and Iron crossover Raise the Black. So Oak and Iron crossover rules with Blood and Plunder is not something we have forgotten about at all. It's something that was in the works, was getting close to a final point, and then it kind of just COVID came in, and all the disasters of 2020 basically just completely derailed it. But it is something that we plan on getting done very soon. We've got the groundwork laid out, and there's some new cards and stuff like that work with it, and different things for how it'll work. So that we're gonna have that done, and we'll probably have some previews of it probably toward the beginning of 2021. I don't want to throw anything different into 2020 just to be safe, but yeah, we have had some work done on those, and we'll get them out next year for sure. What else we got, Steve?
So what are the new details for our plastic sloop? What's the difference between our new plastic sloop and the old plastic sloop?
New plastic sloop and old plastic sloop. So first off, there are two different ships in the game, right? So like they're two different unit types or whatever. They're not both sloops. They're both unique ship types, or I should say there's three unique ship types there. Whereas or more if you count the alternate rigs in No Peace Beyond the Line. So our original sloop makes three. I'm going to grab it. I'll just move so people can see it. There it is right there. So they're different stats. So these sloops are supposed to be smaller, more modern sloops. So they're able to carry some more guns, despite the fact they're going to carry light guns. They can carry more than the original sloop, and they're new types of ships. As far as the model itself goes, the biggest difference obviously is that it's plastic as opposed to resin, and as a result of that, we're able to add a lot more little details into the kit. So the rigging is going to be a lot more accurate. There's going to be dead eyes and little accessory bits and decorative parts that you could change around easily that'll all be in the sprue. So whether you're getting the two-player starter, or you're getting the ship on its own, you're getting the same thing in the kit. So you're going to be able to run it as a balandra or a Bermuda sloop. So if if you're getting the two-player starter, you'll be able to build both variants, which means you should get the two-player starter and then two other ones, so you can have two of each. Is the best way to do it. What else we got?
Robert Kurzweil asks, will we ever see a metal version of the Pirates of Legend?
Metal version of Pirates of Legend, possibly. More than likely as alternate poses. What else?
Let's see. Do we have plans for Blood and Plunder in the future? Is there anything past Raise the Black?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, we've talked about this lots of times, but for those not in the know, so we basically have infinite expansion plans for Blood and Plunder that will probably last as long as I'm alive. So we have, first off, we're going to continue to move the timeline forward to cover the Americas, right? So North America, South America, the Caribbean, etc., all the way up to roughly the 1830s. So just before the Civil War, and you start to get a lot of big technological changes like steamships and revolvers and mini balls and things, lever action guns and all the crazy stuff that starts to get a little too drastic in the changes. But the very next expansion we plan on doing is going to cover the middle of the 18th century, which will cover roughly from about 1730 to just before the American Revolution. And so that's the next big thing we plan on covering. And then from there, we'll go into the period of the Revolutionary period, right, where we have the quasi-war with France, obviously the American Revolution, Haitian Revolution, a few other things like that, right? And the one everybody's, the Barbary Coast Wars, which everybody I know is very excited about. And then from there, we'll go into the 19th century, and we'll start covering the War of 1812 and things of that nature, or the Seminole Wars. Beyond that, once we get to the point in the 19th century where it doesn't make sense to go forward anymore, we are going to expand outside of the Americas and start covering the same periods we've already covered, but now in different regions. Specifically, we're looking at Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and stuff like that. And then beyond that, we have plans to go further into the past to cover the 16th century as well, the time of Sir Francis Drake and all that, and conquistadors and all those things that everybody wants. So we have infinite expansion potential for Blood and Plunder as we go forward. Next question.
Are there any plans on an additional plastic ship mold for Raise the Black right now?
Not for this Kickstarter, no. It's such a tremendous amount of work to get one done, and we don't want to start that and then they'll have to end up delaying the project like another year for no reason, just because that one item wasn't able to be done on time. So we don't want to have anything that we have to rush. Make sure we do everything right. So once we get this first one done and actually molded and casted, and then from there we can make the tweaks and stuff that we need. And once we have the whole process down, then we plan on a future project where we have multiple ships because we know we can get them done. And we'll be working on them pretty much immediately as soon as we get this one done and have them ready for this project so we could be ahead of the ball on this one. Next question, Steve.
Will there be any narrative scenarios to play out or to recreate famous battles / pirate antics in the new book so we can recreate historical scenarios?
Just one, and that's going to revolve around Blackbeard's Last Battle, which is the theme of the expansion. Other than that, historical battles is the theme of our organized play kits. So if you unfortunately those took a bit of a slowdown this year, and since there wasn't really a whole lot of playing going on. But we plan on picking it up again new with not only Blood and Plunder, but with Oak and Iron as well in 2021. And we'll have new settings and new scenes and stuff like that to do historical refights. Most historical refights tend to be outside the scale of Blood and Plunder. There are very few that are as small as one of our games are. So Blackbeard's Last Battle was a great candidate, but we do have, in the Buccaneers Companion, for example, which is on our current. If you go into the the community section on our website, you'll see an organized play, and all the scenarios are there, so anybody can get them. They're designed to really be playing in your stores and clubs, but you could use them with your game group, no problem. And in there, we've got you have rules to scale it down, but we also have army scale rules to play the engagements closer to full size, where you have a couple hundred to several hundred on each side. Next question, Steve.
Someone wants to know about our RPG.
Our RPG is currently in development. It's sharing a lot of resources with a lot of the design for Raise the Black, since it's going to cover that period as well. So we're hoping to get it out in 2021. It's looking pretty good on that. I believe that most of the core mechanics are handled. I'm not the designer of that one. That would be Tim Korklowski, and so I don't want to step over him and answer any questions that I have no information on. But the game is coming along well. I have played an early version of it, and I like it a lot, and I'm excited for it to come out. What else we got, Steve?
We are so close to 100. We're at 93.
Oh, look, we went down to 92.
Oh, wow.
What a shame. Be a real tragedy if we couldn't get 8 people in here, wouldn't it?
So someone asked, are we going to sing shanties for the last 24 hours? I wanted to bring back shanties because I loved that commission so much. Someone told me it's already been done. No one's going to want to do it. So.
No, it wasn't me.
You're right. It wasn't you.
I was wondering why I haven't seen it. I thought it was in there.
Do we have plans for 17th century expansions?
You mean more 17th century expansions?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, the Pueblo Revolt is one of the things that we haven't really been able to capitalize on, which I've wanted to. I think that's such an interesting conflict. And the main reason is obviously it would require a whole new range of models for the Native Americans of the American Southwest in that period, as well as all the Spanish soldiers like the Cuera cavalry and all that stuff. So yeah, more 17th century stuff is in our plans. You're going to see various things as we go along. It'll probably be smaller expansions, nothing on the scale of No Peace Beyond the Line or Raise the Black. But the 17th century will not be forgotten. There'll be new things. And lots of the new stuff we're coming out with for the 18th century is also backwards compatible in a lot of ways as we add things. For example, sailors having the ability to carry boarding pikes and stuff like that. That would obviously have been used in the 17th century as much as the 18th, but we just didn't have the right models to really make it work. So now we've got them, so they're going to be an option. So there will be more support for the 17th century as we progress.
Bill asks, as a newbie, how do you recommend getting prepared for this upcoming game? So,
as a new player, how do you recommend
getting prepared?
How do I recommend getting prepared for the new game?
I mean, you can read that as a technical for the game, or you can talk about going sailing.
So obviously the first thing you need to do is go buy yourself an accurate 18th century sailor's outfit. So, and then do that. Buy yourself probably
a small vessel,
small ship, yeah. And
then
so no, seriously, so if you're a new player to Blood and Plunder, if you cannot wait, getting a copy of the PDF rulebook or physical rulebook is it's not a bad first start to get familiar with the rules. They will be the same rules. They just the new version will be slightly reorganized, but the same rules. So I will warn you that is likely to get you to buy existing product as you wait. But I warned you, it's fair. So if you do that, that could happen. But um, there's always terrain building. You can start building up your terrain collection, get your tables ready to go. There's um, there's always reading. We have so many. We one of our commissions was to post your reading list for Blood and Plunder. So there's tons of really great recommendations out there that you can go check out. But all those things will help get you in the mood. There's always pirate films and historical movies and such. So those always help me get excited. So
We'll probably create an article, reading list to help people get started on the history based on people's recommendations from that commission.
that's a great idea. We should do that.
Mike, what's your favorite convention?
My favorite convention. That's I'm gonna have to. There's a lot of really good ones that we've been to.
You don't
I
need
have
to
a
be nice.
special. I'm not. No, I'm never nice. Don't worry. I have a special place in my heart for our smaller local conventions here in Florida, like Recon and Huracan and Rapier. But I have to say the convention that I'm most impressed by always, and that I always really enjoy myself at, despite the fact that they do it up north in the winter, is has got to be Adepticon. Adepticon is a pretty impressive show. But definitely our local shows here in Florida, they're just so laid back, and it's a completely different thing. It's hard to compare the two. But Adepticon is just so grandiose, and it's gigantic. It's not quite as big as Gen Con, but Gen Con's almost too big for me. But Adepticon hits the nice spot where it's right in the middle. It's not too big, it's not too small. It has a lot going on. But our local shows done by HMGS South and the Jacksonville Garrison up around here are always super fun. It's always just basically going and hanging out with a bunch of friends for the weekend and always laid back, and always I'm never disappointed by those. So those have to be. That's my answer. That's what I'm going with. What else we got, Steve?
Let's see. Miguel wants to know.
Oh, we're at 99 people.
Oh, so close.
Can we lock the room? Is there a way to keep people from coming in?
Well, no. Miguel wants to know.
No, we just passed 100.
What's our release plan for what? Okay. Our commission was just unlocked, so let's talk about that for a second.
Unfortunately. I guess we have to give him a monkey now.
Sure. All right. So,
Well,
Miguel wants to know what our
congratulations,
plans
guys.
are for the next year. Let's talk
Our
about
plans for the next year.
as far as releases besides Raise the Black.
Good question. So, a couple things. So, you mean for the 2020 or like just the next 12 months?
Yeah, for the next 12 months.
12 months. Okay, got it.
Mhm.
So, the very first priority as far as Blood and Plunder is concerned is there's 3 units that we need to get out in a hurry, in my opinion. One of which is the Buccaneer, which have been like, they always get sidetracked by something else for one reason or another, and we've been promising them for a while already, so we have to get them. They're number one on the list. So the Buccaneer, which if you're not familiar, they're in the No Peace Beyond the Line book. They're basically the wives of the Buccaneers, and they're just as capable.
We're going to do that as a fire starter?
Probably, yeah. So I'm not sure about those details yet, but I know they're coming very soon. As well as the I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, but the Naeses and the Young Braves for the North American tribes. That's next up on the priority list, as well as a dedicated commander model for those. So we're getting at the very least, those 3 new units for Blood and Plunder. I'm going to try very, very hard to try to get our resin casting in order and move some things around so that we can get another ship. I would like to do another ship next year in resin. And then we have some fortification bits that need to get into production ASAP. So like bastions and the blockhouse for the fort and things of that nature. So that's the plans for Blood and Plunder for now. We do have also a PDF that's going to be released called the French and Indian Wars Volume 1. That's going to just cover some early 18th century stuff as well as late 17th century. That's just going to add some more options for the particularly North America, the French and Indian War, so the North American tribes and stuff like that. But as far as Blood and Plunder goes, that's what we've got on the chopping block for the moment. And depending on how well things go, we might add more. So we'll see. What else we got, Steve?
Let's see. David wants to know what do you think about doing a map-based campaign for Blood and Plunder? Now, we had a plan for that.
Yeah.
But what happened?
So COVID happened. We should have had one going right now. So we had planned with our friends over at On Tabletop. We were going to do a map-based worldwide campaign for Blood and Plunder, and I believe we were going to incorporate Oak and Iron as well. Unfortunately, since nobody's able to play games together for the most part, that had to get shelved. As far as an actual campaign system for us to release, it's something that we've got plenty of requests for, and we're looking into options possibly for the future to release something along those lines. Next question.
Delaney would like to know if do you know how much gapping there might be in our miniatures?
Hopefully none. We're doing our very best to work. I know a lot of plastic model kits can sometimes be bad with that. That's part of the reason we've gone with a company that's on a little bit of the higher end in quality, and of course along with that comes with a higher price, unfortunately. But they have done all the stuff I've seen from them is really good. They have engineers that work on these things, and they come back to us and tell us how we can correct things and make them better. So since we have zero experience working in this kind of casting, we thought it best to go with a company that has a lot of experience and has a good track record, and has done a lot of good work in that regard. So we should not have any real serious issues with the way models go together or any kind of gaps or anything like that. So hopefully none is the answer. We're going to do our very, very, very best to avoid it. As always, as everything else, if you've ever bought anything from us already, you have experience. We always try to spend the amount of time necessary to make sure things get done the way they need to get done. What else we got, Steve?
Technical difficulties. Okay, Can you explain? Maybe go over lightly the difference between the two sloops, unless you have already.
The difference between the two sloops?
Not the two sloops, but the two.
The two new sloops, yeah, I get it. The Bermuda sloop and the Balandra. So some small differences. The biggest will be the speeds and draft. Those are the two biggest differences you'll see. So the Bermuda sloop is going to be faster. It's going to be more capable. It's going to be a more capable, more maneuverable sailor. As a result of that, it has a higher draft value by 1 than the Balandra does, as a result of the Bermuda sloops having deeper keels. The Balandra, though, is a little bit more robust, more like the original sloop. So it's going to be a little tougher. It's going to have an extra point of integrity. Excuse me. So it's going to be similar to the original sloop in that regard. And there's going to be a couple ship trait differences that I can't remember off the top of my head, but for the most part, those are the big things that make them stand out. And if you are familiar with the ship game, you'll know that those are actually pretty significant differences. So what else we got, Steve? I need more water. I apologize for having to cough and drink water. I'm still getting over the flu, not COVID, thankfully.
So I have someone asking if we ever plan to go back as far as Sir Francis Drake and Walter Raleigh. And
yes, we are.
Another person asking for the Haitian Revolution. So let's talk about some of the expansions again.
Sure, we could touch on it again. So, so we do have going back into the past is part of our down the road things we'd like to do. That's probably farther than the Haitian Revolution is. The Haitian Revolution is probably a nearer sort of project that you can expect more soon, because it'll come in right around the same. It'll be in the same expansion as the American Revolution. So that's going to be a big one that we're going to work very hard on, because it's going to expand in a lot of interesting new directions that we haven't covered before, such as Barbary. Barbary Coast Pirates is when the Americans take the war to the other side of the pond to which makes it still technically count in the way we count things. So it's an easy way to sneak those guys in there, which because they're really cool. So, but yeah, Haitian Revolution will be fully covered as well of a lot of really cool privateering actions that happened during the Haitian Revolution, which is probably where we get the legend of Black Caesar, because there was an actual Black Caesar with that was working with the Haitians. That I believe is where we get the legends of the Caesar that we currently have in the game. So it's all exciting stuff. I'm really excited for that period. There's that's like the last really before the Napoleonic Wars. You know, the Napoleonic Wars kind of started in this period as well, which is gonna be reflected, I think, in the quasi war. I don't know if that's quite Napoleonic, probably not, but either way, it's there's a lot of cool stuff coming in that period. I'm excited to work on it. So, what else we got, Steve? Give me another one.
How about the Peninsula War? This is not one that I'm familiar with. I'm not sure where that is.
The Peninsular War.
Mhm.
So we're not covering Europe, not yet, anyway. At least not as part of the core Under the Blood and Plunder title. Although I have been pitched a sort of in similar vein to Blood and Valor, basically a Blood and Plunder adaptation of Napoleonics, and that's something we're exploring, and very likely that we could release. It would be it would not be a Blood and Plunder game necessarily, but it would be basically sharing mechanics and being used for that setting. There you go. What else?
Do you know how many scenarios the starter set rulebook will have?
How many scenarios? Starter rulebook will have 5 scenarios, basically the same 5 that are in the current rulebook right now. And then in the box itself, you'll get separately with the Blackbeard scenario. Blackbeard versus Maynard, that is.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got? Now, for those who actually, I should always remember that there's a lot of people here who probably haven't played the game yet. Those 5 scenarios are technically 15 because each scenario has 3 ways to play it. You have a land version, a sea version, and an amphibious version. So all 3 scenarios you can base them. They're not all exactly the same. They're all going to, obviously, because they're played in a different way, they're going to shift slightly based on the type of way you play them. And that's pretty standard for what we do with our scenarios. The same thing in No Peace Beyond the Line and the ones that will be in Raise the Black as well. That's it. Next one.
When will we see a list of ships for the 18th century?
A list of ships. Well, there will be lists are not something we typically do with those sorts of things. We kind of just say, hey, this is cool and let's do this. And that's what we do. So, but if you're asking the list of ships that will be in Raise the Black, that is still pending. I've got some ideas that I'm working with. So all the ships that are out presently will all work in the 18th century in one form or another. The only outlier really is the Galleon, which I'm looking into how convertible that is into a basically just large merchantman. That would be more appropriate for the 18th century. By the time we get to the 18th century, is essentially no more galleons. So even though ships that are quite similar are still operating as either large flutes or big merchantmen. So, but I want to see exactly how well our model translates before I just slap that label on it and give it some slightly different stats. So we'll see. What else we got, Steve? Steve seems confused. You guys think you're breaking him. You all right, Steve?
Doing fantastic. Talk about your favorite thing. Who's your favorite non-pirate English hero?
Non-pirate English hero?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have any that aren't pirates? I don't think so. I'm just kidding. Probably Colonel William Rhett, who will be in the game as well, without a figure, but he'll be one of our historical characters. William Rhett is probably one of the most successful pirate hunters that the British had. He was from Charleston, South Carolina. I believe his house. I believe you can still see his house if you go to like the little downtown area where they have all the historical buildings. But he was a pretty interesting guy. Took out my favorite pirate too. He took out or captured anyway twice, I believe. Stede Bonnet. So, all right, you catch up? Are we good? No, you're confused again. Steve's doing his best, guys. Gives me more opportunity to drink some water. You need me to help? I could open this chat thing again. I was trying to keep it closed so I wouldn't be distracted.
Sure, work your way up. I'll just skip whatever you've answered, and I'll work my way down.
Sounds good. How tall is the tallest build of the sloop? Okay. I don't know, but I have a sloop here. Do I have a measuring tape here? I saw one over here earlier.
No.
It's gone. I actually haven't measured that surprisingly, but oh, there we go. All right, so there's the ship.
Can you pull that back a little bit so they can see it?
Yeah, this is back. If I go any further back, it's gonna fall off the table. So I can't. This is a really weird way to do this, but basically about there. So that's it, just over a foot tall. Just over a foot tall with fully rigged up. So not super tall, thankfully. All right, you got one?
When are we going to start producing battle reports for Raise the Black? As soon as we have miniatures.
We technically did one already.
So already.
So yes, we've already started. We're going to, the next few months, we'll probably not see a whole heck of a lot of content as far as those things go, because we are going to be laser focused on the excuse me, on some of the important production stuff that we're doing, and we are a very small team and don't have a ton of extra resources, but we will, anytime there's an opportunity, a chance, we will definitely try to put as much content as we have. We have been planning for a long time to do more regular content like that, but we just get very busy and it's hard. Usually it's not a lot of fun to watch a bunch of people who are super tired just slogging through a game. So what else we got, Steve?
Can you talk about the legendary commanders that are not pirates for each faction? Are there
the legendary pirates that are not commanders?
Legendary commanders that are not pirates.
Let me man, I have a list. I should have been. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. This is gonna take too long. So off the top of my head, not a whole lot. Some of the ones, especially because some of them are hard to pronounce, but we have several for Spain, for France, for the Native Americans, even for the Dutch. Even though they lose a lot of prominence in this period, we're still going to bring you some more Dutch stuff. There's still a little bit of stuff to fill in for now. Once we get to the next period, they're going to lose a lot more prominence, and they're going to kind of falter to a true just peripheral faction. But even for even we're actually adding quite a bit of Portuguese characters for this one.
And those are legendary commanders?
Well, they're not legendaries necessarily. They might be, some of them. Whether or not they're legendaries is still debatable for a few. It's just the legendary essentially means we're going to make a figure for it. Like, that's essentially what it means right now. But since pirates stole the show on this one, there's just so many pirates, we had to focus on getting all the pirates done. So we had to make sure to do at least one Spanish guy and one French guy in our, just because those were our original 3. So I wanted to make sure to get those in there in the pirate set. But we're going to do an update. Well, we'll be doing updates as the development of the book continues and starts wrapping up. We'll be doing some updates on how it's looking, where it's at, and we'll make sure to give you some more information on those. I don't want to dig up my list here, and because I've kind of got 2 documents going, one of which is stuff going in this one. This book kind of took a tack in a different direction from where we started with it, where originally it was going to be the Queen Anne's War book. So some stuff is getting put separately as it's a little bit earlier, and other stuff is going right into the book. So I don't want to mix them up and get everybody upset. So that's that. What's the next one?
The next one is, could you talk about the biggest changes to ship maneuverability and combat with this new release? Not
So
much changes.
yeah, so there's not. I don't know if that's a rules question. There's nothing. It's the same rules. The rules for ship battles will not change. If that's more of a upgrades question with the technology of the, or that's starting to unveil in the early 18th century, I'm still. That's one of those little things I'm still kind of working on, just because I haven't had a chance to play test it as much as I'd like. Because it's hard to find somebody to play with in person, but thankfully that's changing now. We've been getting together a little more often and getting some games in, so I'll have that answer pretty soon because that's one of the things I'm most focused on. It's one of the few loose ends I've got as far as rules design goes. But typically, it's going to be advantages to sailing tests, some extra ability to turn in some points, and things of that nature. Right, just stuff to help you manage the ship, pull off maneuvers a little better, or a little easier, and things like that. So those are the and to take advantage of higher speed. So even if you're it's going to be a common upgrade will be to be able to raise your top speed even if your highest sail setting isn't wouldn't typically allow for it just because some of the rigging advancements would allow you to take advantage of some stronger winds, whereas previously that would have damaged your ship. So those are the sorts of things that are in there right now. All right, what else we got, Steve?
So someone is asking about where our source for the concept art was. So like, what did Ian base his? Ian's our illustrator.
Mhm.
What did he base his pirates off of? And this is a question like, Captain Jack is depicted some ways, and some of the other characters are depicted some others. And where did we pull our inspirations from?
Right. Primarily, I can tell you personally where I'm sure Peter got his inspiration from various places. I know he's constantly just watching. I know he looks at. I know Howard Pyle is an influence on him for sure, as well as a few other famous artists. But as far as the stuff we give him, all of our stuff comes from historical references. A lot of maps, a lot of wood cuttings or wood cuts and things like that. That's the majority of where we get all our stuff from. We try to so that way all the details are are well done. We also grab them from reenactment groups that we know pay close attention to the historical details and stuff like that. Because seeing the actual clothing on a person is always helpful to see how the way it folds and lays and such. So that's the as far as our end goes, that's the majority of the inspiration. Next question, Steve. All right.
Are we gonna have a wheel?
A wheel?
Yeah.
If we come out with wagons, maybe we'll put some wheels on. I imagine you mean for ships.
Yeah.
Maybe that might just be a surprise that we save to the end. Who knows? I'll leave that as maybe for now. Got to keep some suspense somewhere here. What else we got? Do I need to start looking at questions?
Yeah.
All right. Will there be a Woodes Rogers min? Will there? What's a min? Like
Miniature man.
Oh, okay. Probably, but not part of the Kickstarter. Wood Rogers definitely ranks as legendary. Definitely deserves a figure. So I'd say so. You good? Steve's having a hard time.
They're loving Buccaneers. That's what I'm seeing a lot of here. This is so much love for Buccaneers, and they're coming for sure.
Yeah, Buccaneer are coming. Sneak previews of. Okay, I'll skip that one. My beard looks great today. Thank you. Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate that you play with me, cough and all. If we make more money, I'll fly you out here once a week. Maybe. No promises.
Do we have plans on making Canadian natives in winter clothing or winter French and English? Is that more American Revolution that we're thinking?
No, it's in, especially with King William. That's actually a good 17th century one. But we don't like anything having to do with the cold or winter or anything like that. So all our stuff's always going to be summer and tropical. And by we, I mean me. No, I think it would be super cool to do a bunch of Native Americans and French Canadians and New England militia all done up in winter gear. That would be super cool. Definitely something I really like to expand into in the future. But we still have so much to cover for our regular models that's definitely a future release plan. But it's that you could almost say for sure. You can almost say for sure we'll do it because I really would love to see that. But the reality is that there's just so much. We have so much stuff to fill in still that it's going to take us some time to get there. What else we got?
Not a question. Bill Harvett just wants you to include some of your beer hair in his pledge. Can we do that? Is that...
Logistically, it'd be difficult, Bill. I appreciate the sentiment, but it's we'd have to get it, ship it to China,
okay, fair.
and then the
So
chances
it's
of
just because of the logistics.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
fair.
pretty much logistically it's difficult.
All right. When we're not playtesting our own games, what are we playing?
Well, lately, when we're not playtesting our own game, the game for me has been BattleTech. So we just got our Kickstarter in from the Clan Invasion, and so that's been pretty cool.
Legion.
Yeah, we play some Legion around here lately.
Haven't played in a while, but huge fan of Arena Rex.
Yeah, Arena Rex and Bushido are two games we've been playing. Games that have options to play small skirmishes that we can play in lunchtime in less than an hour typically are popular. All right, what else we got? BattleTech is definitely not in that category of fast and short, but
they're asking about Frontiers. Do we have any more news?
Frontiers, yes. I'm so excited to finish working on Frontiers. But we got to get this project done first. So that's very good motivation for me to finish this project quickly so that we can get started on Frontiers. Frontiers has been something I'm super excited about. The game mechanics are pretty much all sewn up and ready to go for the most part. Now it's just a matter of tying it all together with the campaign structure and creating. I want to create to cover the three main, or at least three different story archetypes that you can take through a campaign, such as like Down on Their Luck group of pirates with a small canoe or something that are trying to work their way back to Port Royal or something, or the Bahamas or whatever, or fur traders up moving from one place to another in the north, very much like I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of this book and movie, Last of the Mohicans sort of thing. Thank you. That kind of stuff. So very excited to get to work on that. But that is very much something that you'll probably start to hear a lot more about next year. What else we got, Steve?
Plans for Dutch for this. Will there be a Boss Loper model?
Boss Loper? No plans for a Boss Loper model just yet. That would be something that that I would say it's just same, that falls in kind of the same category as some of the other stuff that we would like to do models for sooner rather than later. But there's just a bunch of other stuff to fill in first. Because I don't have a lot of really good sources on Boss Loppers is the primary reason. But I need to try to find some good images of what they probably look like. If anybody has them, feel free to send them over. So, and that would be a lot of time and research for that unit.
What's your favorite rum, Mike?
My favorite rum?
Mm-hmm.
This is a little question always comes up. What's
we
that?
have answered this one before.
Yeah, what's that rum we drank over there? I'm gonna say that one. I forgot the name of that one. Plantation?
Pull it out. Show them that.
I think it's Plantation. It was pretty good.
In the office. Not a paid endorsement for any European people.
No. Yeah, so our good friend Roberto, who's our photographer, he brought this along. This was really good. It's Plantation. Can't read it. The glare's too strong, but there it is. Was there another question?
Yeah.
Go for it.
So, are there more North American natives planned in metal?
Yes, that's going to be among our very first next releases.
Okay, and are you going to make a variation on the brig?
On the Brigantine?
For the 18th century.
Yes, eventually that's a plan for plastic, is to do a new a brigantine model, not just a brigantine, but also essentially kind of a more medium-sized ship that can function as several different rigging options. Any kind of square rigged ship like that is pretty easy to do that way. So it'll be pretty cool because we'll probably be able to add options to make it a snow or something like that. So as well as a brig, brigantine, small frigate, various types of ships that'll work off that whole type. So
We always get Stephen Smith wants a first rate in Blood and Plunder. Do you understand what that would?
a first rate in Blood and Plunder? Yeah, I mean, no, it's not gonna happen. At least probably not. I mean, you never know.
No. Is that 3
Never
feet?
can never say never to anything, but
How big is
it's
that?
probably a little over 2 feet.
It's
It's
a
probably
rampage,
close
you
to
can't move it.
3 feet long. I would say, just a guess. All right, what else we got?
Bill Havrat wants the Blunder Monkey to be honorably named Neil. Now, to be fair,
Can you guys hear Steve?
there's no Blunder Monkey.
I don't know what that is. Yeah.
There's a monkey set piece, and also we have something else planned for it. But say what you want about that. I don't know. Nothing, I guess.
I see somebody ask what is Frontiers, so I'll answer that real quick.
Sure.
I guess I should have said that when I explained it. Frontiers is an expansion game. It's a standalone game, but that kind of works off of Blood and Plunder. It shares stats and a few things from it. But it's a future game we plan on releasing that's made to play very, very small scale. So 4 to 10 models aside, and it's made to be played around a campaign system. So if the simplest way I could explain it and hopefully not get sued is that it's pirate wartime, more or less, or frontier wartime, because it's also works really well for North American stuff, hence the Last of the Mohicans example. So, all right, we got another question, Steve. I see you typing over there. No more questions. That's it. All right, done.
Any chance you'll release the rules for the Braves before the Kickstarter ships?
They are already technically out. They are, if you go to our force builder, you can go to North American native North Americans, and they are there. But yes, we have a PDF we plan on putting out just called French and Indian Wars Volume 1. It'll be a pretty small thing, and that's going to cover the Braves and a couple other little things that'll just kind of fill the gap between now and then with new releases on models. Now and then being now and when this Kickstarter delivers. So,
will the Galleon be replaced with a large fighting ship, or you said that you're just going to mod it, right?
Right. Although there is a, I would very much like to do one larger ship at the very least in resin, being a that'll serve as a large 5th rate or a small 4th rate. But still doing the work on that, trying to see how we make that happen. But I would like to someday, but no promises on when or how. All right, Steve. What else we got?
Will there be a model for Hornigold?
For Hornigold?
Yeah.
Not in the box, but that is a possibility for metal in the near future. What else you got there? Steve's having trouble again, guys. Sorry. Do you need me to go find a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go whenever I get quiet. Go. Sorry.
All right. Let's see. So I can go through these super fast. Will there be new characters that aren't commanders? Yes. In fact, the Native Americans are getting a lot of new characters, a lot of generic characters, since a lot of the existing ones kind of don't work well for them. And Guy Rourke, whose name I've seen popping in and out of here, gave me the idea by creating an official supplement for them. So I'm going to boldly steal many of his ideas and tweak them a little bit and get those in there. And let's see what else. Plastic flute coming? No, probably not anytime soon. A flute is such a distinct hole shape that doing one in plastic would be very, very unlikely. If you see us release a plastic flute, that means we're doing it incredibly well, and we probably won't be doing Kickstarters or anything. So, unfortunately, but the flute is we are possibilities. I know the flute's kind of because of the curve in the hole in that crazy shape. That is an expensive model because of all the resin we have to put into it. But we are looking for ways to try to lower the cost on that. So we'll let you know if anything comes of that. Can you explain the expansion book a bit more? Does it have more scenarios? Yes, the expansion book is going to have new scenarios. So one of it may actually have more scenarios than any of our other books, based on the direction I go. Because we may do the typical. We're probably going to repeat the ones that are in No Peace Beyond the Line in there, just so that if you are a newer player and you're not necessarily interested in playing the 17th century, you don't have to buy that book just to get the scenarios, right? So but if we take that route, then it will have some other scenarios that are unique, and most of them are ground-based only. So we'll see. And as far as what's going to be in there, just to go over it real quickly, give you the breakdown. That book, the main thing you're getting out of that book is you're getting all the new factions, all the new units, all the upgrades to the existing units and factions that come in the 18th century, because many units will transition over just fine, such as a lot of the sailor units, right? Like Sea Dogs, Marans, Marineros, Zelaiden, all those guys. Sailor's a sailor, doesn't really change a whole lot in between, but they're going to get some new options based primarily on the plastic models that will function just as well in the 17th century as well the 18th century, early 18th century at least. So as a result, all those upgrade options and changes will be carried over into the new book. So that's the biggest thing you're going to get out of this book is tons of new units and factions. Not quite to the level of No Peace Beyond the Line, because that almost killed us and that was too much work, and we won't do that again. But it's going to be, obviously you're going to get I think when we last counted it was like 12 factions total in the main rule book, and you're getting no less than that. It's 2 French, English, Spanish, so about 7. You're getting 7 in the main rule book, and I believe last count was like 36 factions in the other book. So it's a big jump in number. And then of course there's all the units. There's the extra scenarios that we're putting in there. There's the new characters and the rules for characters and everything else like that is going to be in there as well. You got a question yet, Steve? I see you typing. Are you like just working right now instead of doing this, or? I think Steve's writing the next Kickstarter update.
Robert Kurzweil wants to know what's the biggest ship that we have planned for BMP. I think we've already done it.
Biggest ship we have planned for BMP? Yeah. Even if we did a 5th rate / 4th rate, I still think the Galleon would be bigger, probably. At least, not necessarily lengthwise, but just size in general, probably. I don't know, because I haven't really proportioned it out yet to scale, but more or less. What else we got?
Do we have painting guides up? Yeah, we should.
We do have one painting guide in the oak and iron section for the ships, and that'll work for Blood and Plunder as well, obviously. And in fact, we need to go out of our way to say so and do that. But that's what we have for now. And obviously, in the books, you have plenty of painted examples that you could go off of. What else we got?
Do you have anything you want to talk about?
Do I have anything I want to talk about? Is that a question?
We've been going for...
Or are we going to close it?
We're going up on the hour. If you have anything you want to talk about to close?
I feel like there's a lot of questions. I mean, we can keep going a little bit if you want. We can take it to like another 15 minutes.
It's I've been keeping up with the ones that you've already gone over.
Okay, got it. All right, so I guess we're gonna cut the questions for now, unless Steve's gonna give me some more that I don't know about. Yes? No?
I'm gonna continue to answer the ones that
Okay.
you know.
So we're just getting mostly repeated questions.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay, no problem. All right. So I think that'll end it there. For a last note, obviously we want to say thanks to everybody. We really appreciate all the support we've gotten from you guys. I love all the excitement. I see any mortars planned as a question just popped up. Yes, that'll be. We plan on having mortars, so that's a thing that'll be in there. Um, so again, I just want to thank everybody. Sorry, I'm looking at the questions because I opened the chat. That's why I closed it before. So I'll answer the questions that I see coming up. Well, we see lances in the Native American, African American markets. Yes, you'll see lances in there. That's one of the biggest reasons that I wanted to do the Native Americans, is to be able to cover the throwing lances. So it wouldn't be lances like the lanceros have, but more like javelins, I guess would be the right term for the modern term, I suppose. But not really modern, but whatever. You get the point. Yeah, that kit's going to have plenty of options. So there'll be plenty of options for so the Native Americans that we just unlocked. I should talk about that really briefly, actually. The Native Americans are going to have you're going to be able to field them as Native Americans or as Africans to function as Black Caribs or Maroons. So if you look at No Peace Beyond the Line right now, you'll see that both the African warriors and the Native warriors and all the other ones, they have a lot of weapon options, which we obviously in Metalwood we've tried to cover it with our weapon sprue kit, but it's not really quite as good or the same thing. So this kit will have, similar to the sailors, lots and lots of options. So you can equip your guys different ways. You can give guys pistols, sidearm pistols. Some of them I think have brace pistols. You have muskets. You can have bows. You can have lances. You can have thrown weapons. All those really cool different options will be present in that kit. And I'm excited to get to work on it and to start sculpting all that stuff up so we can show you guys. Which, obviously as we go through all our sculpting over the next few months, we'll be sharing that more and more. So, but yeah, ships with mortars, probably not. That's outside the scale of this sort of game. Although you would be able to put mortars on ships with like the model itself, and you'll be able to equip it, but not any kind of dedicated mortar platforms like bomb catches or anything like that. I will follow Lee Upton's advice, and I will tell people to share your post. We need more stuff in the box of plunder. Let's see. Where are the plastic kits going to be produced? The plastic kits are going to be produced overseas in China. Any thoughts on turncoat rules for the new game, bribery, etc.? I don't think to be honest with you, we've seen enough, at least at our convention games, we've seen enough turncoats and bribery and such that I feel like the game lends itself naturally toward it. No rules necessary, but nothing official that we have planned. Will Native Americans be able to get some kind of bigger ship to sail like bark or tartana? Yes and no. So the North American natives, they gain access to size 2 ships, so they can actually sail tartanas and barks and sloops and anything like that, since they historically would take them and use them a little bit. No artillery that I'm aware of on those. So if I find any examples, I'll change that. But as I've seen, they weren't really having broadside battles with any of their ships. As far as the Caribbean natives and such, I'm still looking into it, but I haven't really found any examples of them doing. So that's more likely what it'll be. All right, and there's some closing thoughts. Then go back to saying thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate you guys participating in this, for supporting the Kickstarter, helping us make this happen and come to life. We're really excited to get to work on this. So in about 48 hours from now, more or less, we'll be full steam ahead on this project. We'll be updating as we go along, of course, and expect more of these sorts of things going forward. As far as updates, not so much AMAs because there's the project will be done, but probably later on we will probably do some toward the end of the year just to give an update, a bigger update on where things are at. But thankfully we had a lot of work done beforehand as far as the rules are concerned, so that I could focus really on getting the sculpts and the modeling done on that. So next October, by this time next year, hopefully everybody's already got their stuff. And it seems like a long time, but if you know the Kickstarter game, it feels like a long time. It's when you actually get it, it's always worth the wait, right? So it'll come around sooner than you expect it. So anyway, thanks guys. We're gonna be we'll be watching your comments for over the next 2 days, trying to answer as many questions as we can. Don't forget to go out and spread the word. This is people's last chance to jump on board and get involved in the Kickstarter and hopefully unlock that cavalry, guys. So let's go get it. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you soon.